Hello guys, this is Bhavya Sharma here and welcome to the Med Concepts with Bhavya. So this video is going to be the part 2 video of the femur bone anatomy. In the first part we studied about how to determine the side determination, that is how to determine whether the femur bone is the left femur or the right femur. And as I told you in the second part of the video, that is in the second part video, we are going to talk about the features explained properly and thoroughly of the femur bone. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So when we start with the features, we will first talk about the upper end, that is this part, the shaft and the lower end. So again telling the upper end, the shaft and the lower end. So let's go for the features of the upper end now. Talking about the upper end, we have 5 features that we have to observe over here. That is the head, the neck, the lesser and greater trochanters, the intertrochanteric line and the intertrochanteric crest. Okay, now we would go with the details of each one of them. So the first feature that we observe over here is the head that I'm showing here. The head is lying medially. When we talk about the anatomical position, it is directed medially and it is almost spherical in shape. Then another thing that we see here is this pit or the groove. This groove or a roughened pit is known as the fovea capitis. Now when we talk about attachments, I will tell you what is the attachment over here and what is the attachment on the fovea capitis, etc. For now you just need to know the names of the parts. So this is the head, which is totally almost spherical. This is directed medially and it has a roughened pit which is known as the fovea capitis. Okay. Talking about the next part or the next feature, that is the neck. This part. See. This part that connects this neck. Okay, I'm holding it this way. This part is the neck. The neck connects the head with the shaft of the femur. Okay. So the neck, that is this part, connects the head of the femur with the shaft of the femur. Another thing that we observe here is the neck shaft angle. So this is the shaft axis and the another one that I have is going to be the pen. I will cross an axis through the neck. Okay. A line crossing, an imaginary line crossing through the neck is going to be the axis of neck. So here the pencil is showing you the shaft axis and the pen is showing you the neck axis. That is, it is passing through the axis of the neck and the pencil is passing through the axis of the shaft. This angle, this imaginary angle that is formed between the pencil and the pen, that is the axis, that is the shaft axis and the neck axis, is called your neck shaft angle. So now if you want to know more detail about neck shaft angle, it is, see, neck shaft angle is about 125 degree in adults and it is less in females than in males. Why? Because females have wider pelvis than the males. That is why the neck shaft angle is higher in the males and less in the females. And the normal angle value is 125 degree for the neck shaft angle. Now talking about the third part, that is the trochanters that you can see here, which is this one and this one. So when you see this one, this is the greater trochanter and posteriorly we have the lesser trochanter. So greater trochanter and lesser trochanter. Continuing with this, the other features that we see is, one is intertrochanteric line, that is this line that I have marked with a marker, that starts from the greater trochanter and ends at the lesser trochanter. This is the intertrochanteric line. That is, intertrochanteric means between the trochanter there is a line that is passing from the greater trochanter and ending at the lesser trochanter, which is the intertrochanteric line. And if you see posteriorly, we have a round crest-like thing, which is the intertrochanteric crest. The same thing, it is intertrochanteric, that is between the trochanters, that is the greater trochanter and lesser trochanter. There is a crest-like thing If you touch, you can see very properly. In case you have bone, please touch and feel it. This is the intertrochanteric crest. So that is all about the upper end. We see the head first, then we see the neck, then we see the trochanters, that is greater trochanter and lesser trochanter. Then we see the intertrochanteric line, and at the last we observe the intertrochanteric crest. So this is all about the upper end. Now let's go for the shaft. Now talking about the shaft, shaft is cylindrical in shape and it is convex forwards. See, convex in the sense, if you see it like this, it is convex forwards. That is, the shaft is convex like this. It is like this, right? Like my hand. It is convex forwards, that is, it is convex anteriorly, and the shaft is cylindrical in shape. Now we would be dividing the shaft into three parts while we see for the features. First is the middle 1/3, then we have the upper 1/3, and then we have the lower 1/3. So middle 1/3, upper 1/3 and lower 1/3. Now let us talk about the middle 1/3. In the middle 1/3, we see three borders and three surfaces, out of which only one border is very well defined and the other two borders are not very well defined. So the first border is your medial border, that is this one. Towards the head, it is ill-defined. So that is ill-defined in the sense it cannot be seen very clearly. So the medial border towards the medial side, the lateral border towards the lateral side, and the posterior border, which is also known as the linea aspera. I hope you can see it very clearly. Luckily in my bone it is very clearly visible. A thick ridge. This is the posterior border. This one. So this is the posterior border. Then in the front we have the medial border and the lateral border. Then talking about the surfaces, we will have the anterior surface which is smooth between the medial and lateral borders. We have the anterior surface. Then we have the medial surface towards this side, that is between the posterior border and medial border. We will have the medial surface, and towards the lateral border and the posterior border we would have the lateral surface. So three borders, that is medial border, lateral border and posterior border, which is known as the linea aspera. Then three surfaces, the anterior surface which you can see very clearly right now. Then this side we have the medial surface, and towards the lateral side we have the lateral surface. So these are the features that we see in the middle 1/3 of the shaft. Now talking about the upper 1/3, we have a spiral line that we can see in the posterior side. Let me show you clearly. See, in the upper 1/3 we have a spiral line over here which is present posteriorly. So this is the spiral line that we observe here. This dark one is the spiral line. Please do not confuse it with the intertrochanteric line. Okay, see, intertrochanteric line is here. This one, the marked one, the black marked one. I have marked it with the marker. And the spiral line is here, somewhere below in the posterior upper side. So this is your spiral line that you see in the upper 1/3. Now in the lower 1/3, again we have to be in the posterior position. See, we have the linea aspera over here, right? Let me show you in this way. See, we have the linea aspera over here which divides into two lines like this. See, if you see the bone very clearly, it will be visible very properly. But since I am shooting a video, that's why I have marked it with a marker already. So the linea aspera over here, that is the posterior border, divides into two lines in the lower 1/3. So this is the medial supracondylar line and this is going to be the lateral supracondylar line. If you see in the full view, this is the medial side. So this one is the medial supracondylar line, this one, and this is the lateral side. So this is the lateral supracondylar line. So this is about the lower end. Now we are done with the middle 1/3, upper 1/3 and lower 1/3. Now we would talk about the linea aspera. This thickened ridge that is also known as the posterior border is known as the linea aspera. As you can see, this one is the linea aspera and it has two lips. See, knowing the lips and knowing the parts of the linea aspera is very important because it has certain attachments according to its features. Okay, so medial lip and lateral lip. We have two lips over here for the linea aspera. Towards the medial side of the linea aspera, we have the medial lip which forms a line, that is the medial supracondylar line that I told you previously. And towards the lateral side, we have the lateral lip, which will form your lateral supracondylar line. So this is about the linea aspera. Now we are done with the upper end, this one, the shaft, and now we have to go for the lower end. In the lower end, we see the two condyles. First of all, talking about the lower end, it is a widely expanded part which has two condyles, that is the medial condyle and the lateral condyle. Then talking about the epicondyles, we have two prominences here, that is medial prominence, which is the medial epicondyle, and lateral prominence, which is the lateral epicondyle. So two condyles, that is medial condyle and lateral condyle, that is medial condyle, this one, and lateral condyle, this one, and then two prominences, that is medial prominence, that is the medial epicondyle, and lateral prominence, that is the lateral epicondyle. Now the another very important thing we observe here is the adductor tubercle. Again repeating, the adductor tubercle that is seen here in the medial epicondyle. This part is the adductor tubercle, that is a projection that is observed in the medial epicondyle. This is the adductor tubercle. Now let us talk about the articular surfaces that we observe in the femur. Going in the posterior side, we talked about two lines, right? The medial supracondylar line and the lateral supracondylar line, right? In between these, there is a triangular space that is getting created, which is known as the popliteal surface. So this is the surface where the popliteus muscle can get articulated, that is the popliteus surface. Then talking about the another surface that we see here in the lower end is the intercondylar surface. Between the two condyles, we have, see, I've marked it with a marker. If you can see, from here to here, this whole part is the intercondylar surface or intercondylar fossa, and this line that I've made here is the intercondylar line. So intercondylar line and intercondylar fossa or surface. Now the other articular surface that we observe here in the anterior position, see, this is the anterior position. In the anterior position in the lower end, this part I have marked it with the marker, see properly. This part is the articular surface for the patella. Okay, this whole part is the articular surface for the patella. If we turn to the posterior side, in the medial condyle, that is this part, this surface is the surface for the tibia. That is, the tibia gets articulated in the surface of the medial condyle. And this one is the lateral condyle, you already know. So we have four surfaces over here. In the posterior we have three, and in the anterior we have one. So the posterior, we see the first one is the popliteal surface between the two lines of the linea aspera. Then we see the intercondylar line or intercondylar surface, that is intercondylar surface between the two condyles and the intercondylar line. Then in the medial condyle we have the surface for tibia, and anteriorly we have one surface, that is articular surface for the patella. That is this one, that is articular surface of patella. These are all the features that we see in the femur bone. We have talked about the upper end, in which we have 5 features. Then we have talked about the shaft, dividing it into the upper 1/3, the medial 1/3 and the lower 1/3. And then we have talked about the lower end, in which we see the two condyles and some articular surfaces and two epicondyles. So these are all the features that you need to know about the femur bone. I know there are many features, but if you divide it into parts and read, it is going to be easy. I hope it was of some help, and I hope you people understood it well. If not, and if there is any query, please comment down in the comment section below. Also, as always, reminding you, the notes would be uploaded in my Insta page and in my Tele page as well. Link to both of them would be in my description below and should be there in the video somewhere. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you liked, share it, support, and stay safe.